Hi, Harris here of Harris and Dave. Today I want to show you how to use a crock pot to make a dinner. We're going to use a roast. We're going to use a rib roast for this today. The reason we're doing this is because one of our fans wrote on our site and asked us if we would do this for her since she works Monday through Friday and doesn't have time to cook when she gets home. So as you see, my pan is already smoking and it's got some oil in it, and I've salt and peppered my meat, and I'm going to sear the meat on all sides. You really do need to give the meat a good sear. When you sear meat, what that does is that holds all the juices on the inside. So you're searing it like a crust. So when you slow cook it then in your crock pot, the meat will remain very juicy and full of flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sear this on all sides, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and we're continuing to sear the meat. I just want to show you how you really need to get every inch of the meat seared. You want to make sure that all of the juices are locked inside, so you just need to make sure you hit all sides. The last side I have here is this base. So I'm going to sear that. While that's searing, I'm going to come over here and chop my onions real quick, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rough chop these onions, and then I'm going to caramelize these onions in the pan, because I'm going to use that as a base. Onion has a lot of flavor, and when you're roasting meat in a crock pot, the onions break down and they become a very good base for your flavor of your meat. All right, so take a look. You'll see all ends of this are now seared. Alright, so we're going to take this and put it right in the crock pot. And then I'm going to throw the onions in here. Wasn't the most graceful way, was it? Anyway, so I like to drop a hunk of butter in there when I'm searing the onions. Just only a tablespoon of butter I'm adding to it, not much. So when all that melts, I'm going to drop these onions in here. Now there's all bits, if you see of the meat, there's all bits of the meat in there, which I'm going to deglaze the pan by using some beef stock from Kitchen Basics. I really like this product. I put salt and I put pepper, mainly salt to sweat my onions, but then I put some pepper on there as well for flavor. Okay, well these onions are going to take about 3 minutes or so to saute up, because I want them really good and caramelized brown to put it into the crock pot with the meat. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I want to let you know, I said 3 or 4 minutes for the onions. Well, it's been 10 minutes. And the onions are still not really where I want them to be. But you see how they are starting to caramelize really well, and they're starting to look good, but they're not there yet. So now what I like to do at this point is I want to throw some garlic in there. But I don't want to chop it up or anything. What I just want to do is smash it and just drop it in. All you do, it's so simple to break garlic. I know a lot of people struggle with garlic, but it's really easy to handle garlic. All you do is you take your blade, you put it down on the garlic, and you just smash it down, and you just take the stuff off, take the shell off of it. That's all you do. Simple as pie. So I'm going to take all these. I'm going to add a little bit of butter to the onion mixture, and I'm going to drop them in there. And that'll give this roast a whole lot of flavor while it's cooking in that crock pot for you. Okay. You know, I don't really make crock pot food very often, so I'm sorry my time was a little off on that, a guesstimation on there, but it's really important to get those onions nice and caramelized, because the more color, the more flavor. Color equals flavor. Always remember that. So I'm just going to take a drop of another tablespoon of butter. I'm going to drop that right in the center here, like that. Okay? And now I'm going to just drop in my garlic. Just take all the garlic and just throw it right on top of that butter. And let that all break down a little bit. A little salt on there helps to break it down. Just put that in there and let that get happy. You know, and if you don't like garlic, don't use garlic. Use what you like. I'm going to also add carrots, parsnips, mushrooms, and potatoes to the roast. But at this point, I just want to add the garlic and the onions, and I want to get the crock pot set on high. Let it start doing its thing, and then I'm going to lower it down in about a half an hour and let it cook for several hours. And then I'm going to come back in and drop in the carrots and stuff. But if you have to work and you don't have the ability to do this in stages, then just throw it all in there. It'll be fine. The vegetables will just be a little bit overcooked. All right? So we'll see you again in a little bit. Still checking out. All right, it's getting to where we want it to be. All right? So I'm mixing you guys up. So now I'm going to put a little beef broth in here because I want to deglaze this pan. All those bits of food, all the bits of beef that were on there, I want to get those all off, and this is the way you do it. So if you look at the bottom of the pan, you'll see all that's coming off now. And we want all of that into our stock for our roast in the crock pot, because all these bits give it all the flavor. Okay? So I'm just going to dump this right inside the crock pot right here. All right. We'll let that cook for about a half an hour, and then I'm going to change it from high to low. And then we'll add in some carrots, parsnips, and I want to add a little bit of beef broth in it, just so it maybe about an inch around it, underneath. That's good. All right, there we go. I'm going to cover that up, and I'm going to let that run for about a half an hour, and then I'll be back. Okay, well, I've had the crock pot on for half an hour on high, cooking the meat. And you know, when I think about it, you know, if you're preparing your crock pot and you're going to work for the day, and it's going to be cooking for 10 hours, I don't think this half an hour on high and switching it to low really makes much of a difference. I think you would just put it on low if that's the case. I'm thinking about the way I would do it. I like my vegetables a little more crunchy. Doing it this way, your vegetables are going to be very tender, but it'll be very delicious. So whatever way works for you. If you have time to leave it for half an hour on high, fine. If you don't, then just leave it on low all the way. All right, so I'm taking the lid off, and I'm going to put in a couple of stalks of celery. I'm going to chop them up into kind of large pieces. I'll just drop them in. Okay. And I'm also going to put, it's a nice big carrot, isn't it? I'm going to put this, whoop. We'll just rinse that off. It'll be fine. So we'll put some carrot in, and we'll put some parsnips in. You could put, there's lots you could put in here if you wanted to. You could even put, if you wanted to, you could put sun-dried tomato in here if you wanted to. Here are my parsnips. And they're just random sizes. You don't have to be really careful. These vegetables are going to cook all day long, and they will get nice and tender. Okay, and then I have some baby red potatoes that I've just washed, and I'm going to put them in there. Okay, and then I have about 8 ounces of shiitake mushrooms, and I have 8 ounces of baby bella or cremini mushrooms I'm going to put in. Okay, so, and all of these will, now I'm going to season it as well. These vegetables and this meat will create an amazing juice that will be great for when we make our gravy. So we're going to salt and pepper the top of these, give them a little seasoning, and then we're going to put a lid on it, and we're going to let it cook all day long. And so then we will see you in about 8 hours. Okay, the meat's been sitting in the crock pot for about 8 hours now, and we've cooked it at a low speed as we discussed. Now you remember what it looked like when I put it in, so come on over and take a look at it in here now. You'll see how it's all cooked down. We have lovely juice there, and the meat is really separating from the fat. Looks really good. So we're going to take the meat out, and we're going to put it on a wooden. Board here, and this board, if you look closely, has a well around it. You know, when meat exudes its juice, that juice will be captured in this well, so it won't make a mess on your counter. Just a handy thing to pick up. And then if you look inside of here, you're going to see all of these parts, which I am going to take out. You see all the mushrooms and the potatoes and the carrots. That looks just delicious. Potatoes are starting to break up a little bit. That's okay. They'll be nice and tender. They'll be really good. The mushrooms, this is all going to make a delicious flavor for the gravy that we're going to use as well. This leftover broth in here. This is some good stuff. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to get some of this gravy and I'm going to pour it into my separator. This thing is a really cool tool because it'll actually separate the oil from the actual au jus, from the meat. I want to get as much of this as I can because this is going to make delicious gravy. Okay. So now we're going to put this aside. Come over and take a look, Dave. Okay, so I have equal parts of butter and flour. This is my first step in making the roux. So what you need to do is actually cook the flour. That's the trick about making a roux, is that once the flour and the butter mixes, you actually have to cook the flour before you can add your beef to it. So we're going to let this cook here, and you'll see the color of it will change. It's a nice yellow color right now because you're seeing all the butter in it. But as this cooks, it will become more of a light brown in color. The darker and for a beef dish, the better. But if you burn a roux, it's ruined, and then there's nothing you can do with it from there. I'm going to keep stirring this and get this up to temperature. I'm going to stir this for about 2 minutes, so I'll be right back. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes now, and I've been constantly stirring the roux. And now what I'm going to add onto it is a little bit, maybe a teaspoon or so of a Williams-Sonoma product called beef demi-glace. They make it for beef, make it for chicken. It adds so much flavor to your gravy. It's amazing. You're going to love that stuff. So just go to Williams-Sonoma's and pick it up. All right, we can let that incorporate in, but I think it's time that we get to the separator here. Now the separator, as you see, the oil is on top and the juice is at the bottom. There's a little bit in the handle here, so I want to pour that off so we don't put that in. I don't want that in my gravy. And so now I'm going to pour some in to my roux. You see it bubble up there? Just using some of it for right now because you've got to slowly incorporate it. See how thick that is? Almost like a paste. I'm going to add some more. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to mix this up, and this will be our gravy, and it is going to be delicious. It's going to take a little time to incorporate. I will be constantly stirring this, tasting it. I'm making a mess on my stove. It's going to be hell to clean up, but anyway. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, the gravy is starting to come along. I'm going to season a little bit. Add about half a teaspoon of salt, maybe about a quarter teaspoon of white pepper, and then I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of herbes de Provence. This is a really good product. This is a Wegmans brand, but I think there's several different brands you can use. You kind of have to break that up in between your fingers and put it in there. But it's got all kinds of stuff in it, like lavender and different spices. I really like this product. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit of red wine to it, maybe a quarter cup or so. And now I'm going to reduce this down to a low speed and let this reduce and get a little thicker, and so we can use it to put over our meat. So let me reduce that down. Okay, so now we're going to come over and I'm going to carve the beef. I'm going to bring a platter over. And I'm going to carve this beef. Now, normally I'd use regular pot roast meat for this, but when I went to the grocery store today, they were having an incredible sale on ribeye, and I like a rib roast, and I thought, okay, well, I've never made a rib roast in a crock pot before, but why not try it? So this is a test for us today, so we'll see how this turns out. I can't imagine it's not going to be good. So you would put your meat on your platter. Of course, we have a lot of meat here to cut up, but I'm just showing you how I'm doing it. Then you take your vegetables and you decorate all around your meat so you have a nice family-style platter to serve your family. After you've been working all day and haven't had time to cook, you're going to walk in the door and you're going to have a fantastic meal for your family that took you only about 20 minutes to prepare before you left the house. There you go. So now let's taste it. Let's take a little taste of this puppy. Oh my God, this is delicious. It is so tender and it is so delicious. The mushrooms, full of flavor. They didn't overcook it all. They're really, really nice, very tender. Great meal. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you try it yourself. Harris and Dave. Harris and Dave. www.harrisandave.com. Come and see us online.